Hey, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Chicago Networking Squadcast.
Hey.
Alex, this is Thomas. And
hello, guys.
Shaily joining us right here.
Yes.
How do you pronounce
Hey.
your last name?
Shaily Hakimian.
Hakimian. Okay.
Yes.
Shaily
Yes,
Hakimian.
yes.
Social media, Maven, Sherpa, amazing diva is
The
going to
term Sherpa, it's the best. It's the best word to use. I love it.
Somebody gave me that business name, and I was like, okay, I'll take it. Like, she knows my market better than I do. And I was like, you tell me my name is not relevant, I will change it. And I changed it. So many people be eating it up. And I was like, I knew somebody would hand this to me. It's like a drag queen. Like, you get named by another drag queen. As like another business owner was like, you should have this name. Your name sucks. I was like, okay. She held it for 3 months before she told me. The next day I had a domain name bought up immediately overnight. I was like, it's all Sherpa now. But yes, thank you for having me. I love all this stuff, and I'm excited to see how I can empower your community with some tips on how to showcase themselves better online. And share their stories and share what makes them interesting and special, so that people who are hiring or people that for whatever job, for a business, they can really sparkle and shine to whatever it is people need. I'm sending you lots of good vibes. Just hearing the struggle of what the job market is right now.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Record. Wait, press record. Don't talk. Press record.
No. I'm recording currently.
Okay, good. I was like, don't let it go without getting it. Okay, yeah. So keep going. I want to hear what's going on. But like, yeah, it doesn't sound fun. I heard the horrors from my UX lady from GA, and she just got a job. I hope they didn't rescind it. But she's been looking since, I don't know, whenever we finished, which was November. So it just happened. It was a struggle for her, and she was going crazy. Anyway, What's going on with you?
Yeah, I mean, I've been looking since October, and
Same here.
Yeah, like, and I was starting to network really hardcore, like even before I graduated. I was going out there, I was making connections, I was meeting people, and like I've just had like the worst luck with networking, because like the networking is going really well, but it's never making that connection with opportunity. Yeah, and it's like I'm meeting a bunch of people, and they're people, a lot, granted, a lot of them are like lateral connections, so it's other job seekers.
Don't, this is not going to help you so much. Maybe.
No, but that's the thing, and that's my philosophy. It's like, I feel like if you look down on lateral connections, you never know where your next job is going to get.
100%.
Yeah, so like you have to be open to those connections. And like, I'm not going after them, but if they're there, like I'm always trying to make
sure
to strengthen my network.
Yeah, it's just hard knowing like which one is actually going to lead you to something productive.
That's life.
Yeah,
it's playing that game of life in some ways, rolling the dice.
And that's the thing, is like, I've just been out there and I've been trying to make connections and figuring out like what's working. And like with the, I connected with, Shy Hack Night, and I started working with this group, and, I thought it was going to lead to something, but it just seems like it's more pomp and less circumstance. So it just, I don't know if that's going to go anywhere.
It's planting a million seeds and hoping that like a few of them like blossom. And that's sometimes a sad reality, and it's like a weird lottery of sorts, but you can buy as many tickets as you want.
Yeah, and that's what I've been doing. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing this, and trying to like spread the podcast, because it all grew out of the calendar essentially. Which I told you about.
It's cool. I looked at it. I think I used it a few times. I think it's on my other email account, so I haven't seen it as much as I probably should.
I feel like there's even more events on it. Well, I've been seeing a lot of more, even though they're canceled and everything. But yeah.
Well, the problem is that like the way that web events work, because they've got like the Zoom links, it's not as easy to import them onto the calendar. Like, it's a much more labor-intensive process. So when I was doing, importing regular events, I could just do like, add to calendar, no big deal. I could go and add like 15 different events. But with the webinars, you have to like go to a link and then register. And then like, even then they'll send you an email, and it'll auto-populate via your email to go through it. And then I would have to like copy it from one calendar to the other calendar. And there's like, it was a
lot of steps.
Yeah. So
it's really not fun, I'm sure.
And I want it to be a resource for people, during this time of like everybody having webinars. So like when I hear about stuff, I'll take the time to like,
Sorry.
Bless you.
Take the time to put it on there and, do something, hopefully do something with it. But I just, it's kind of not a really good time for the calendar. But then again, like this thing that we're doing is our response to a lack of networking, because it allows us to like put our faces out there, get a little bit more of our personality and the way that we think, and using this as a resource for other people, early career designers, developers, data scientists, whatever, to showcase their skills. And it's sort of a cyclical relationship of mutual benefit.
Yeah, keeping it like a community for sure.
Yeah. So and Thomas, I don't think that I've told you, but Shaily knows Mo. She actually Mo's part of my tribe, and they're like,
he brought me in.
Where'd you meet? Or
so Mo is good friends with my friend Becky. So what was it, like 2 years ago? I mean, it was been more than 2 years. They're like, you need to meet Mo. Eventually I met at her birthday party, and then Mo and I got to know each other better, and he's like, oh, you should come to this Shy Tribe thing, and then you and I saw each other at that other event, and then I was like, oh, you're Mo's student. I'm like, shh. And then I saw the videos of the impersonation.
That is a small world type thing for sure.
But both of you had Mo. I should send him a selfie right now. Be like, look what's happening.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
But it's so funny. Y'all see him in a completely different light than I'm sure I see him. So
right.
So
I've been meaning to reach out to him because I know he left Flatiron and being like, hey, it's been on my to-do list for like forever.
I'm sending a selfie here.
Yeah.
Hi. Let's see how it's gonna go. Here we go. I got it. There we go. Good. Yes, you didn't mean to what? Reach out?
I've been meaning to reach out to him essentially.
That's really nice. That's a good move.
Yeah.
Professors and teachers are such a good resource.
Right.
Yeah. That's what I try to do. Like I know as far as like, sending it off to people that are kind of at my level, like I was doing that at the time where there was much less competition. I haven't been doing that so much anymore. But I just feel like, because if they don't, if I put myself up for a position and they don't pick me, then it wasn't a match that meant to be made, like,
sure.
Like they, didn't want my particular resources or whatever. And, so I try not to think too much about that loss and just be like, well, if somebody else found it, then that's good for them. But just keep on going and trying to like be of value to the community and to like whatever organization that I'm looking to hook up with. So
however you can.
Yeah. So
same.
I love that. There you go. So I'm looking at your profile, Alexander. How do you know Juliana Spaven?
I mean, most likely a networking event.
Is she not? I don't think she's in Chicago.
Will you guys give me 1 second? I'll be right back.
She's in DC. She's not even local. She's in DC. Here, I'm looking at your page. I'm just curious what your profile looks like. Here, this brand strategist.
Oh no, it was I saw a post on LinkedIn that she was providing. And
wait, keep going. This is great. You have no idea. Keep telling me more about her LinkedIn post, please.
Yeah, I know.
I'll tell you after.
What it was, but it was like something along the lines of, I thought I saw value in it, and I was like, okay, well, this seems like somebody that I should follow. And usually, if I, I'll try to make the connection request, but sometimes it goes through, sometimes it doesn't.
So she's working very hard on her LinkedIn, and I, when I can, I send love that way, but. She's part of a program that I help run. So I'm like, yay, to hear that you found her on LinkedIn. It makes me really happy. And I'm going to maybe tell her because that's
good. I mean, that's cool. Exactly what you want. So that's perfect.
Yeah. So I'm going to I need to say something. One of my clients is going to be like, oh, really? That happened? I was like, yeah, this is great. Lucio friends. Anyway, that made me like so happy. And then Bridget Calling, how do you know her?
Oh, I go to Highland Solutions events like all the time. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, so I know
I've been
her.
there.
I know Carissa. I know, that Chad actually, I know him through designation, but he also goes there, and he ended up getting a contract gig through them. And I was trying really
You know, some
hard
good folks.
to cozy up to Highland Solutions, but apparently they're a pretty small agency.
Yeah, they're tiny.
Yeah.
Bridget is a beast. So like,
Oh,
I
she
know
is.
if she
I
said
love her.
yes to that, she's a beast. I used to work with her at her first company or her other when she was, I don't know, I think she was younger. I think we're like the same age. I was an intern and she was already running like massive social media accounts for all these organizations. And then that company had issues and they separated. It was a whole thing. And
Yeah.
Menachem's a cool dude. Who else is in here? You got Mo, because Mo is, I just texted him. He's like, what are you guys doing? Martin McGovern is always a hoot. He's doing a lot of career stuff. Alex Jewell is like, homie,
Oh, yeah.
I love him.
I'm trying to synergize with Martin McGovern, because I feel like we're in a good position to like, I'm like, all the stuff that I'm doing, I can pretty much send everybody who's looking at my stuff to his stuff. And so I'm hoping eventually developing a relationship that it can be like, mutual.
He's
But,
great.
I'm trying to support him in what he's doing, because I feel like it's a good resource for people. And, tackling the sort of more emotional side of the job search, I feel like is a really, important aspect, as well as like the functional strategic sides.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah. Are you just creeping on my LinkedIn right now? Is that what's
Yeah.
happening?
Yeah, I'm looking because I want to know what you can do.
But,
Do you have would you say you're pretty connected? Would you say?
I mean, yeah, I'm coming up on, I think, 600 connections or
But like
700.
do you feel close with those people or do you feel very surface level or
I mean, there's a lot of surface level people, but I try to, send resources and connect with, share things that I think people will use. And so, for a lot of the people, like the Flatiron designation alumni, I'm close with a good deal of them. But there's people throughout the community that I like develop pretty good relationships with. And I try to like, because that's the thing, that's
Ooh.
my philosophy about networking, is because a lot of people feel like, it's making the initial connection and like, getting that connect on LinkedIn, getting, feedback or whatever. And it's like a one-off prepackaged relationship. And like, for me, I feel like it's all about, the aftercare, maintaining that connection, making sure that like you're actually building a relationship with them organically, over the course.
Organically-ish.
Yeah.
Organically-ish. Like I'm thinking too, like looking at your stuff. I don't know if you want ideas. Do you want ideas?
Sure. I mean, I'll take.
I would be interested to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
Well, I like that you're posting. I think that's great that you're posting. You're posting a lot. I mean, it's good if you have the capacity to post a lot. Great, but you have to be consistent on whatever you do. Which it looks like you are pretty consistent about it. Your podcast got a lot of hits, so that's good.
Yeah, I just got a good news about that. My high school reached out to me and asked if they could share it on their alumni page, our latest post. So it's pretty cool seeing like actual people from my past.
Remember, they need content too. If you want to write content for someone else that has a big audience for yourself, like they will take it because sometimes they don't know who to hire or they want somebody else to contribute it. Sometimes they'll just post it because remember, they probably suck at their own marketing and you can help them. And they might have a network, right?
Yeah, no, the network is really interesting because they were talking to me to see if they didn't ask me anything specific for me yet, but they asked if I was be interested down the line doing some collaboration, talking to students about UX and stuff like that.
Do it. Why not? And then you can post that you did that and you look good.
So something like me and Alex could do together or something. That's cool.
There you go. Yeah, I've been doing some of those things. It's kind of fun. Oh, this is so pretty. These graphics are, well, obviously the graphics are going to be pretty if you guys are in UX. I suck at that kind of stuff. I was like, thank God UX human fixed my website. I was like, ha.
Well, and that's part of the challenge of being a UX designer over a UI designer is like, it's much easier and much simpler to showcase visual design than it is to showcase, strategic thinking and design thinking, developing products. Like, if you haven't actually shipped any products, you haven't actually like made anything, it's really hard to convince people that you can do that. And whereas like it's easy if you have like, you could just create stuff on Dribbble and on Behance and it looks pretty. And like, nobody knows how long it took you to do that. Like, it's just something that you can have really quick impression on, and then that's it. Whereas like a case study for a UX designer, you have to read. you have to like absorb some of that information. And that's kind of the balance and the challenge of a lot of UX designers is like, I have this amount of story and I have this amount of time to tell it in. So
right, but that's not ever, that's literally, I'm going to tell you the real freaking difference of why people succeed or don't succeed in business. You could be the best freaking person at UX or whatever your job is, graphic designer, social media manager, like financial accountant, bullshit, whatever. Like if you don't know why you're valuable, why you uniquely understand someone else's problem, you don't even have a chance to get their work. So you have, because I don't give a shit. I want to know very quickly that you can solve my thing. So like even today, it's like, you know, who are you? Why are you special? I'm looking at your profile too, and I know you're a cool dude and you're trying to help people, but like your profile, your about section is reading nice, but it needs to be a little more, it's a little resume. I want to see some passion, some story. Why do you care about it?
In some ways.
What?
Like how I can help you specifically.
Maybe that. Like what is a company like? Tell me what the hiring manager is struggling with. Hey, your company, you know, is old school UI or UX, whatever. Like they suck at the You need somebody who can do this, 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 and this. Here, I'm so and so. Here's what I can do for you, and here's why I care so much about this specific thing. Which I'll give you the story. I pulled this out of her, and I was gonna kill her that she never put this on her LinkedIn until I told her to. But I was like, you realize you have this golden story, and you both have it, because I realized every person I've worked, every client, they have this golden story that they've never published. And I'm like, you suck, publish this golden story. For me, it's like, I was bullied, I was teased, I learned how to make friends, and those skills end up translating into what I do now. There's a 5-minute version, 10-minute version, 20-minute version, whatever. But with her, with the UX stuff, is that she was teaching, and she was in a classroom, and she impacted like a bunch of people. She gave 20 kids an experience. Then she worked at a museum, and she gave 100 kids an experience. And she realized she wanted to give people experiences because that was so close to her heart. Because when she was younger, her family took her traveling, and they gave her experiences that they can enjoy. And so she said that doing UX stuff was a way for her to give experience to like a much larger opportunity through the experience they had on the internet. So there was like a whole detailed story about that. And I was like, well, that's really beautiful. It's like you shared like how something that you're so passionate about as a young person, and what was the theme like between all of her past careers into why she's doing what she's doing now. And it's like, as a person, I can imagine that. I can visualize her traveling somewhere. I can visualize her teaching. I now understand that what she did at a museum for like 2 or 3 years is actually related to what she's doing now. She's basically curating an experience for someone the same way she did in school. Everyone has those stories, and I can imagine that in my head a lot better than like something specific. Like, I've done this, I've done that. I get that you've done that, but like, who are you? Because I still want to like you. Like, yeah, it's going to be important that you know what you're doing, but like, I want to be able to imagine what you're like as a person. And I think a lot of profiles don't necessarily do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of been my perpetual challenge, is like how to translate who I am to paper, because I feel like personally I have a lot of dilution problems where I am a jack of all trades in a lot of ways. And so,
been there.
yeah. And so like, I'm able to do a lot of stuff, and I'm interested in a lot of things, and I'm like really curious. So I'll follow the rabbit hole. And when it comes down to marketing, it's been really hard for me to really like to curate my marketing message. And I was telling Thomas this in our last podcast about how I was reading somebody, and I went looking for the article and I couldn't find it, but it was Chris Doe. I remember it was him. He runs like the Future Design Agency. He's one of the designers there. And he talked about how you have to specialize externally, but generalize internally. So in your marketing, you really want to be known as like the person who does this, you know, like you want to be able to be like, oh, I've got this problem. Well, call this person. He's the person to call. And, you know, talking about a thing called the halo effect, where if you are good at something, people assume that you're going to be good at other things, and vice versa. If you're bad at something, if you're trying something and you're not that good at it, people are going to assume that you're not good at other things as well. So it's
called the halo effect?
Yeah, the halo effect.
Yeah.
That's a good name for it.
Yeah, so it's like, it's one of the reasons it's important with marketing to make sure that you're curating your marketing message into the things that you're really good at, and kind of like holding back on the other stuff, even if you can do it, and even if you want to put that out as something to like make yourself more valuable, make yourself like putting yourself on sale, you know?
100%.
Yeah, like you're buying you're buying a copywriter, but actually I'm all this other stuff. And it's like, yeah, it's actually hurting you. So
it's not even that they're buying a copywriter, they're buying something like a painkiller for whatever their problem is that, it's not that they have a writing issue. It's like, hey, we know our website doesn't look good and people are not converting. We need someone to fix it.
mm-hmm.
So there was so much in what you said. And to kind of go into my own personal story is that, like, for me to get to teaching social media was like such a long journey, is that I also was like, I had so many things to do. And it was when an HR professional said, Shaily, like, maybe be upfront about it, that you're navigating what all this looks like. And eventually, every year, a couple things would drop off. And eventually, it came into this. My background's in education. I'm a trained teacher, and I love social media. And then at one point, somebody asked me to do both. And I was like, that's great. And I was like, I'm in. That sounds like my perfect job. Like, fantastic. I love to talk. I'd rather talk than sometimes do the management, the nitty-gritty. So what happened is that the last 2 years I've been more specialized in this, and people are like, oh, do you do social media management? Oh, do you do, workshops? Do you do this? It covers a lot of bases because teaching implies a lot of stuff. If I can teach something, I can probably do it. So it's been a huge differentiator for me too, because most social media managers don't take this. And frankly, it's more profitable than what people are getting paid 10, 20, whatever, $20 an hour for. It's much more profitable to be like a teacher in a sense than it is to be a freelancer who's actually working 100 times as hard. Anyway, not saying I'm making a lot of money. I'm not, but that's the reality, is that, like, the more I got clear on it, the better. Now, was it easy? Was I in your shoes? Absolutely. But it helps a lot to be specific and to know what you're good for. To give you another example, there's this lady that I met at a networking event, and she's sweet, but like, she's been nagging me for weeks. And she knows I know a lot of people. She's like, can you get me a job? Do you know anybody? I'm dying for work. Give me something. I don't really know what she's good at. I don't think she specializes in anything. And it makes it really hard for me to refer her. And she's been nagging me, so I don't really want to put my reputation on the line. But in reality, as much as she's been driving me crazy, I was able to send her a couple leads that are more broad and other people I know have shared that were not necessarily reputation bearing. So it kind of worked for her, but she's driving me crazy. So I'm not going to work that hard for that. But it's like, I don't know what to tell other people about her. Like, I can't just be like, oh, she's a human. Like, I need to know if they can do something, right? I need to know if they're like awesome at something. And
it's her job to make it easier for you.
Like, I don't want to do that work. I don't want to be like that. And maybe you think it's closing off doors, but I can describe you better. I don't really know what you are if you can't tell me.
That's a good point.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why, when I was going to networking events, when I started going to networking events before I graduated, I, was always, just like getting those little disposable name tags. And I felt like I'm kind of an environmentalist. So every time I used one, my heart broke a little bit. And so I was just getting so frustrated. And I would try to connect with people on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn has that QR code feature, which is just if anybody doesn't know how to do the QR code feature, DM me and I will teach you, because it's literally the most important thing that LinkedIn can do while you are networking. But anyway,
there's so many hacks around that. Yeah.
So many. But yeah, so like what I ended up doing is I ended up designing my own reusable name tag that had a scannable QR code on it. So when I went out and I talked to people, I could, it already had my name. I didn't have to get another name tag. It said what I did. It had my pronouns on it, and it had a scannable QR code. And, and so like I would just take that out, and that would be my peacock effect, where like, it would be this thing where it's like, I designed this. You'll remember me because I'm the guy with the name tag, and that was the thing. That was my differentiator.
Your name tag man.
Yeah.
No, I feel you.
That worked for a little while. I was also
you should do that. I'm telling you, name tags, business card name tag. You've seen me wear this, right?
Yeah, that's
people every year. Oh, you still have it every year. I get a message from someone. Oh my gosh, I found your name tag the other day. Like, they actually keep it. I'm like, because it's so special. I'm like, so it's on people's fridges all around the country. I'm like,
yeah. No. Thomas, you don't really understand the genius of this business card. And when we first met, I gushed over this, because when you're meeting somebody at a networking event, like of course you exchange business cards, and you have that like stilted, exchange about like, oh, what do you do? It's like, oh, interesting.
Wait, did I tell you I got my own business cards recently?
Oh no.
Yeah, let's see what you got.
I have a QR code on it as well, and definitely you helped me come to like that inspired me seeing yours on it. But mine goes to where does yours go? Does it show your resume, or does this bring
No,
you?
LinkedIn.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, LinkedIn has more personality than a resume.
that's
Yeah.
true.
Oh, you should put more personality in a LinkedIn than a resume. There's so many nuggets, y'all. Oh,
Yeah. Well, my second,
that's
my
cool that you have a QR
V2,
code.
my
Yeah, check this
V2
out.
of my name tag is going to go
Cool.
it's going to have one that's going to go to my LinkedIn, and then it's on the reverse, it's going to go to my portfolio. So,
Cool.
but yeah, so going back, like her name tag, it has her name in the format of like one of the name tags. So it already has that association, which is just like like one of
I
the
wear it.
codes. You wear it, yeah, because it's in the little reusable plastic slip. But then it's also got like stuff that she likes, things that she's a member of, why I make my clients smile, and then about, it's like a little resume. It's like a little tiny resume conversation starter. And I just like looked at this and I was like, as an experience designer, I'm like, yes. And it's got a picture of her on it, so looking very professional. And yeah, it's just like, it was just looking at and it's got a little icons for all the stuff that she's on and all that kind of stuff.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
It's just,
Yes.
yeah, like, and I will keep this. I will keep this when I throw all my other business cards away so that I can tell people how you do a business card.
I appreciate that. I've gotten every kind of reaction. The more people like design, the more they're like, but I'm like, that's not what it's for. It's for connection. It's like, is that like, yes, like you have to have the skills that people need, but they also want to feel like they like you and they can connect with you and they know who you are as a person. So I always urge people.
Fun, in a way.
Yes.
Yeah, it's cute. It's fun.
And
of
it's
course,
really,
that.
it's actually really funny. It's actually really funny because there's a perfect example. So I don't know if you know this, but I used to work at a strip club.
Oh gosh.
Yes.
Is that on your LinkedIn? Oh my gosh.
I haven't put that. I've been contemplating how much of that. Like, I don't want to hide
make it bland. I worked at a bar.
Yeah.
I worked at
but the
entertainment entertainment venue.
Yeah. The thing is like.
Oh, you did. You put Admiral Theater. Okay, never mind. It's on there already. Okay.
Yeah. But the thing is like when I worked there were some girls that were so pretty they were forgettable. And because they looked exactly like models or whatever, and it was like, and that was great, but like it also meant that they looked like everybody else. And I feel like that's what like a lot of the business cards, the pretty looking business cards, that's what they do, is because they look pretty, but the instant that you get home, you're gonna throw them away.
You want to see the box? I have a box this big of old business cards, and then I have a bag that's like there's thousands of cards in there, and I keep like 10 of them. Martin McGovern had a card that I kept. It was literally handwritten in a freaking envelope, and I was like, that's cool. Like, yeah, maybe people throw them away most of the time, but it's part of the experience of them getting to know you and giving you context for who they are that they might not get to do otherwise. You might only have one moment to maybe make a connection with someone. So that's your chance.
Right on.
And there's always a moment every time I look, like, this is where I learned how to be interesting on my business card and to be different, is there's always a moment when you hand someone a business card and they're looking on this damn business card with all hope. Like, you see hope in their face, like, please be something interesting that I can comment on. And there's never anything interesting to comment on. And here we go, made it easier. So I made that moment more valuable and more interesting. And I made it really easy to find commonalities. I can talk about my favorite TV show now when it's like within minutes of knowing someone. And I think that's so cool because I don't meet those people very often. So it's a really great icebreaker. And I really want to hit this point home. This is, I think, one of the unique things about how I teach social media is that give a little personal on your profile. Is there something that you care about that you're comfortable sharing? Are you, do you have a family? Do you like pets? Do you like a sports team? Like, I think that makes it so much easier to get to know somebody. So I've been urging lots of my clients to do that. And it really paints a great picture. One of them is, I always mention her, is that she's an interior designer. And I had no idea that in college she studied zoology. And I know how much she loves dogs and animals. If you're going to be designing a home for someone and you also have pets, like, that's going to be really huge. Like, what's animal design? Like, I don't know, but like, she's probably going to know how to do that better than anybody else. So like, it's an extra way for someone to really imagine what you're like instead of some generic person with skills, which is really 90% of the profiles I see, is that you're some generic person with skills, but I can't imagine you as a person, or I don't know what to start or where to start the conversation. Make it easy for me.
Yeah. And I think that that's part of the problem is it's like people have been so conditioned to connect with the algorithm instead of the person.
Oh,
they want to like pass the bar and like let the algorithm know that they can do wireframes and they can do prototypes and they can do everything like that. And like in a lot of ways, especially with like traditional like button down business, like you don't want to show yourself. You don't want to like expose who you are as a person, because like anything that you can like put yourself at odds against the hiring manager, you know, it puts you in like a negative light, so to speak. But like now, I love that we're moving into this era of like Brene Brown vulnerability, bringing your whole self to work, and like that is what gets you the job, is going out there and showing people who you are in a direct way. And it's just like, yeah. And part of my problem is just the subjectivity of it, is because like you're inside yourself all the time, so it's hard to really know. Like,
get a friend.
Yeah.
Get a friend to do it. That's the best way. That's why people pay me as an external person to pull it out of them.
Yeah.
Like, get a friend. Be like, hey, what am I good at? I literally made, can I tell you, the graduation last class where my UX students like finished my website or whatever, or finished the proposal or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
I said, hey, like, you know, I want to make sure I thank you for doing all of this work. Like, you want, like, they want a review or they want testimonial or whatever. I said, okay, well, I don't know. I wasn't with you when you did the project. I've talked to them like an hour a week. So tell me about what each of the people were good at. And just watching their faces to hear the feedback that their colleagues who they've worked with now for 3 weeks say about what they do well was huge, because you don't get to hear that very often. And I took their information and I like made them into a nice little paragraph and put it all on their LinkedIn profiles. You can probably go read them if you want. They're on my page. But it made a huge difference. So like, there's ask your friends, like, what are my skills? What should I be telling people I'm good at? Because it might not be easy for you, but it'll be obvious to them. And sometimes that helps. So
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, huge. I always do it this way. This is literally my secret sauce with clients, is I tell them my story in some level of depth, and I'm saying, okay, what's your story about how you got to your business and why you care so much? And then it spills right out, and I just take notes, and I'm just like, then I give them like a very rough draft that they can go edit on their own. But like, there's a lot more to people's stories, from like dealing with family to like overcoming like racism challenges that happen in their life, to like being a professor, to then becoming a photographer, to like so many things like that, to like having eating problems and then solving them, and now being a health coach. Like that makes people like, can you imagine those stories a lot more than I do health coaching, I do social media? Like, what do I really know about you? Tell me about what unique thing you do in social media. Tell me what unique thing you do in UX. Tell me why you're going to care more than anybody else about the job, and why you care so much and why you're excited. Because that, and how you can help me. Like, that's what I want to know. I will drill that home all day.
Yeah.
So yeah. And make it easy. Because their job is hard. Like, you want them to look at you and be like, that's the one I want. Or like, that's the one I want to know more. Yes, you're going to have the skills for sure. But if you don't even get in front of them enough to pique their curiosity, like, they don't even care about your skills. So thoughts on that? Oh, and I have lists of tips and stuff that I'm looking at a document I made for other job seekers. Lots of tips all day.
Yeah.
But huge. If I urge anything after this call, go and like ask each other what your story is and figure out what you can put out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a good exercise to do, for sure.
Yeah, and then poke me, because I'm curious to see what you write.
Yeah, and I just read something too. It was just talking about like, you know, as you're, you know, using, you know, your resume to get to the LinkedIn to get to your portfolio, and it's like these progressive levels of disclosure and narrativization of like who you are as a person, and it's like it's just leaving enough breadcrumbs to, you know, make them want more without like completely filling out the picture, meaning that they have to take you in for an interview.
I mean, you don't need to leave anything. If you got something juicy about yourself, tell them, because somebody else might tell them. I don't see why you would hide something. Yes, maybe in dating you want to leave a little mystery or something, but and I am not a job seeker. I have not worked the traditional 9-to-5 job. I'm going to be upfront about that. I do not know what that struggle is in the same way. I've been a business owner. I got to hustle every day. Every client is like a new application. It's a new gig, new whatever. But like, make it super crystal clear to them that you're awesome, because that's going to make it so much easier. I don't know. What do you think you'd hold something back? Because I'm curious about it. I'm like, maybe I want to hear where this idea
because
is
it's like that's the thing, is like, you know, and it's part of UX design where you can't overwhelm people right out the gate.
Oh, well, that's true. I agree with you on that. I'm learning that still.
Yeah,
I'm with
and
you.
it's like, you can't put your entire story on a resume. Like you have to very like specific
Curate. Yeah.
stuff. And then like when you go to LinkedIn, you can tell a little bit of longer story, and it's a little bit of, somebody equated it to the teaser trailer versus like the full
I
trailer
feel you.
movie. And it's like maybe versus the director's cut. I guess that would be the interview.
100%.
Yeah.
I see where you're coming from. I totally feel you now when you may say like that. Like I am someone that does workshops and likes to give a lot out, and I've reined it back year after year after year, and it's hard. But if you give someone something long and uninteresting, of course they're probably not gonna want to read more of it. So curating it in a way that shows a story or shows some sort of success or whatever it is great.
Yeah.
The thing about stories too that I think also helps is that maybe in an interview you won't be able to talk about how Admiral Theater was like a great opportunity or wherever else. Let's see, Dabble or whatever. Like, but what you can do is you can use Dabble. What?
Dabble.
Dabble.
Oh yeah, I was just saying that since me and Alex worked on the same project together, I'm just remembering our experience doing that. Yeah.
So the thing I'm going to say is this is like I see like what you've done, kind of examples of the work that you did. But what if you told me a story about something that happened there that, is obviously not going to break any confidentiality rules of like, hey, like I had this project or there was this one class or whatever that I was working on and she had this issue and we talked it out. I did some phone calls and now they felt so much better or whatever. Like if you give me a little narrative as part of that paragraph about your job, that's a lot easier to kind of take in. Or like one of the superpowers they appreciated the most at that job. I've told people to do that and give a few stories there, and it's been helpful. I put that in a few of my job descriptions. I think it makes it a lot more interesting than just like, here's my resume.
More bullet points. Yeah.
I mean, keep the bullet points, but you have more room. You can add some story there. Because if they really want to get to know you, you have an opportunity. Your billboard is your LinkedIn sometimes.
Yeah.
Oftentimes.
Yeah, that's definitely very true. So
yeah.
And I feel like my LinkedIn, because I've been changing my LinkedIn periodically. I like to change it in breaks and like give it time to get feedback. So like, I don't constantly cycle it because there could be a change that I make that's really good. And if I don't sit on that change for a little while to like get the feedback of whether it works or not, and I can't get that data. I can't get that.
So UX of you.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's like that's what I try to do with my portfolio, with my LinkedIn, with everything. Is I do periodic changes, and then I wait and I see what I get from them. And that was the big thing.
Huge.
That was one of my first changes. Is I went from a two column resume to a 1-column resume because I wasn't getting anything back. Like I was sending it out, and I wasn't even getting no's back. I was just getting silence. And then when I switched it from, I read up about the ATS system, the applicant tracking system, for everybody out there who doesn't know. And it said like it reads left to right in lines, and so if you have a 2-column resume, it just gobbles it up and it just turns it into like it just sends it through a wood chipper. And so when I switched it to 1 column, then I started to get no's, and I was like, that's better. No's are better than silence.
Fascinating.
So, yeah.
I think that's great that you share that. If you want more tips on ATS systems or like an amazing resume master of the universe, Adam Karpiak, if you follow him on LinkedIn, he is awesome. He gives away lots of free tips, and he's hireable to do like profile or to do resumes, and just to see the results he posts, I'm like, wow. But he's also a really good human being. So
Karpiak with a C or a K?
K.
Okay, gotcha.
He's huge on there.
Like ATS for sure.
They call what is it called? A career candidate therapist is what he calls himself. He's amazing. The other thing I wanted to say about applying for jobs is that if you're only applying, I mean, I'm sure every job seeker has heard this a million times. If you're only applying to jobs that are like being posted to everybody, you're missing out on the majority of work. And so that's where engaging with a company on LinkedIn or social media, especially if their social media isn't as hot as it should be and you're that one nice person, you could get in touch with someone there and they could pull you through because they might get paid if they recruit you. So there's an opportunity there to engage with people one-on-one on LinkedIn at companies that you desire to work in before a job is ever posted or whatever it is. So that's going to be, and that's a huge thing. And not every person that you network with is going to be able to open that door. And that's the reality. But it's hard to be putting yourself in front of people that actually could open doors. But the magic of LinkedIn is that those people are super obvious online. So like if you find a company that you want to work with, look at who's working there. See if you have any alumni of anywhere else that you worked or any school you've gone to. Maybe they also went to a boot camp. Who the heck knows? Like that's going to be a place where people have kind of gone through the grind and might be able to open some other connections. And they have friends too. So there's a lot there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the part that I'm struggling with currently is like, trying to go through, because again, I talk with my career counselor about this and saying about how like I feel like when I send my resume out in the regular channels, like it's just especially now that there's like not only am I competing with everybody that I was competing with, now I'm competing with people that are out of work and more experienced than me. And so now it just bumps me down potentially even farther than before. And so I'm trying to like switch off to a more non-traditional channel, but like it's it's just a lot of cognitive load of trying
Twitter.
Twitter. I'm on Twitter. I actually
Twitter. Not even be on Twitter. Reach out to companies through Twitter because there are people like me who are sitting there waiting for you to talk to us. And
really? Wow.
Twitter. So think about it like this, right? So a lot of companies have social media managers. There's people like me that are behind an account, and I call us the lonely social media managers, that we work all day long putting out tweets and content. And chances are they're probably not getting a ton of traction on Twitter because Twitter is good for some communities, but not all. So if you're the one person that's like, oh, I loved your post. There is a human behind it that is a social media manager that is very social, that is literally their job to connect with people at their company, to showcase the company. They know people that are there. They might be able to open doors for you if you make friends with them via Twitter.
That's a good point, honestly. Yeah. Going through that personal like that personal channel in some ways. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's super interesting because like I follow a bunch of companies on Twitter, and like when you said that, like I realized I have literally never thought about engaging with them because they just seem like robotic. Like it just
they're
seems
robotic.
Like it's promotional. Like it just seems like I'm putting this out so that you can see it, but not so that you can engage with it. And I've never really thought about going that extra step and like
being the one night person that actually engages with it.
Yeah,
it's a lot of attention right there.
Yeah, so that's interesting.
Huge.
There's all sorts of companies, that get suggested to me on Twitter, and one of the other resources that I'm trying to build is a list on Twitter that I'm making shareable to people that has a bunch of like design, software engineers, companies and stuff in the Chicagoland area and elsewhere. So rather than doing what I did, which is tediously find and follow all these people, I can make it easier for other people to like just batch doing that all together. And like now I'm
nice of you.
People, so.
Now that's smart, right? You're being a resource to people, and that's going to be something that people can remember you by. I get people to my website because I have a link of all my favorite networking events. They're like, oh, what events do you recommend? Oh, let me give you my link. Now they go to my website and they feel grateful, and now they think even more positively of me, right? And you're being a resource too, right? You don't know who people see that you put them on a list. People see that you're being helpful. Like that's the fact that you even created this events calendar is amazing. You're trying to make this podcast happen. That's amazing. Yeah. That's even something you could even post as an attachment on one of your LinkedIn pages. Like, here's my favorite Twitter people.
Mm-hmm.
That might be helpful to someone else, right? There's another place you can post it.
Yeah, actually, that's good because I know that LinkedIn lets you showcase certain things.
They updated it this week.
They did, yeah.
They updated the way you can showcase attachments. Oh, it's so much prettier now.
Oh, good, thank God. Because like
LinkedIn did something right.
Like the calendar that I have on my I don't get to choose the social like share image for that. Like if I could, I would, but like. It's all it is the generic like Google person. So it didn't look great. So hopefully that'll be better. But.
If you can figure that out, I know a lot of people, one person was asking to pay me to figure that out. And I was like, I don't know how to do it. Mm-hmm. So if you figure out how to make those images pretty, Mr. UX, I've got some friends for you here.
I will look that up. So.
Yeah.
But, I mean, so like Thomas, did you have any questions or anything like that you were thinking about with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of went into it.
I don't want to because I heard since you're like a social media educator.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just curious about what was it? Kind of just actually you touched on a lot of things that I had in mind already. Yeah. In terms of like best practices.
Yeah.
Some ifs or nots, and the thing that actually thinking about things specifically with Twitter and how to utilize it to leverage it, because I don't have a professional Twitter at the moment.
Just one
And I was
Twitter.
thinking what my good place would start. And you brought up that good point of there's probably someone at these big companies who is hired to kind of man the ship on these accounts. So
they're hired to be friends with you. They're literally hired to make friends with you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's basically the question.
And they're excited to talk to you.
Yeah, and Thomas, I've tried to link you on Twitter a couple times, and because you don't have a professional Twitter, like I can't give you that, you know.
There you go.
Like, you know.
Yeah, you kind of convinced me.
You gotta get on it, man. You gotta get on it.
Because before that, I was like, do I have to?
Yeah.
How bad is your not professional Twitter? Like, how unprofessional is it? Is that bad, huh? Is it super political? Super like controversial?
Something just for me where I put kind of like shit post art on. So I don't know if we're gonna put that in the podcast, but you know.
Well, that does raise a really interesting question.
It does.
Because that's something that I've been struggling with recently, especially since I've been starting to do the podcast and, you know, starting to really like separate out this thing as an exterior brand from like my brand that's sort of like symbiotic with me, but not exactly. Is like, at what point do you create your own, like its own, you know, like if you have a business that you're starting, you've got your own Twitter or Instagram or whatever, but like at what point do you consider creating like a separate one for your business thing? Or it's such a
good question.
That's a question I have, of course, as well.
I could say so much on this. So here's what it is that I didn't know what I was doing. Like I knew I was doing social media, but I didn't have a specialty. I didn't have a website for a while. But I knew I liked a million things. So the thing that I started is I made a website that was just about me as a starting point. And then I would make a page that was about maybe social media Sherpa. Like I also math tutor, which has been great this time of year when everybody's out of school. I've gotten a few math tutoring kiddos. I was with a first grader about an hour ago teaching her math. It was fun. It was awesome. But like I made a page on there for that. So like if I wanted someone to just see that brand, I would send them that direct link. And eventually I made your social media Sherpa like separate page. But for me, it's like, did I need a separate page for each of those things? That's a lot of work. And as a social media manager, I could not give all of them justice. I even have a workshop that I wanted to make my business, but I realized it was too hard to make a business, so I didn't do it. And so like I made a page for that, but I didn't invite a lot of people. I just had a few friends because I wasn't sure if I even wanted to maintain it. Is that most people can't maintain a page that well anyway. It takes a lot of effort to do that. So I say if you have a personal page, look, you shouldn't be too much business on there because it's going to annoy your followers, but my Instagram, which has a bunch of followers, I have like some 600 followers, I've posted like 12 times, has a direct bio that has my companies on it. So if anybody did want to reach out to me for those companies, it's there. And if for some reason I change my mind and I don't want a math tutor anymore, I delete it. I stopped volunteering with a certain organization and I deleted it from my LinkedIn bio or from my Twitter or Instagram bio. So like having it as like I call it a showcase page that, let's say Thomas, like let's say Alexander wanted to talk to you, like he couldn't do it because you didn't even have a page that he could tag that was comfortable.
I didn't exist in that sphere.
No. So if anything,
I'm gonna do that now for sure.
Like I have a TikTok for that reason. I have a Medium for that reason. I have a Quora for that reason. And the earlier you get on those platforms, the better. I've been on TikTok for like 4 years. It was under a different name, but it was the same thing. And I've been on it for 4 years.
It's been out for 4 years? Oh my goodness.
I was showing it to my friends all these years ago and I was having so much fun with it, but like nobody cared. And I was like, okay.
I'm the same way. Like I don't have any videos, but I keep on telling people like TikTok is where it's at right now. Like there's so much happening.
There is, but like I don't trend dive, but like having an account doesn't hurt and playing with it doesn't hurt, because what if you're meant to make that kind of content? Video is hard. TikTok's not that hard, but it's not my favorite kind of content to make. I like this. I like talking. I like live video. Like that's my jam. So, but I had the TikTok and I played with it because I like to lip sync. That's like my weird secret little thing. But I had it ready to go. So now when all my friends, every time somebody new joins, they see my profile first and I get all these followers. So now I have 150 followers immediately because I was on it ready to go. So that's at bare minimum. It doesn't have to be for each company or each thing. Make a personal one and then put a little bio that is what you're trying to go for. It doesn't hurt. If somebody's really interested in it, they'll find you on there and they'll be able to engage with you. But if you don't put it on there, they miss an opportunity.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest thing. So do it. Just make the pages. You don't have to make all of them amazing, but showcase what it is that you need to showcase.
Because that's the thing, you know, you talked about is the consistency. It's like,
Huge.
if you make it and then you post a couple times and then you forget about it, and then like 2 months goes by and you post a couple more times and then you forget about it. It's like, that's actually one of the people that I follow on TikTok is an artist, and she teaches other people to be working artists, and she gives suggestions about social media. And that's the things that she says.
Yeah, I remember watching a couple videos from her.
You have to be consistent, and you have to post all the time. You have to like just consistently have stuff churning out there, so it's constantly crossing people's dashboards and they keep on seeing your name. And, you know, the more you do that and the longer you can sustain that, the better it is for your long-term brand viability. So.
I want to tell you, when you realize that is the most realist thing, is that how many people procrastinate or don't do it or start a podcast or start a blog and don't finish. It's like probably 90% of people do that. So imagine if you're consistent, right? If you're consistent, you're going to learn how to do that platform better. And then more people they're going to know to look for you, and they're going to be excited to see you. With LinkedIn, and this is partially probably why Juliana's doing so well, is because Juliana's probably posting 5 days a week, is that she is coming up every day with something interesting, and she knows that LinkedIn is going to keep pushing her out. So it's keeping you in their heads. The same thing with business. If nobody is thinking about you as a potential hiree, like they're not going to be like, oh, I should send it to you. The other thing too is that you have all these people that already connect with you on LinkedIn. Your content is also that reminder for them too. So it's huge. And re-engaging the people that you already know, it might be even stronger than somebody who's a total stranger who knows nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's huge.
Yeah, that's one of my side projects that I'm trying to figure out is just finding a tool for people, not necessarily for like posting, although that would be great, but like reminding people that are bad at that consistency that like, hey, it's been a couple days since you posted on Facebook, you should post. Or, you know, same thing, you can program it with like how
schedule.
Long. Yeah, like
you can schedule it. That's what we all use to do that, because or else we wouldn't do it.
Yeah. But like just being able to give yourself a timer to say like, I want to make sure that I post every 2 days, and like you have that like candle that keeps going, and it says like, you know, like once you get to 2 days, it'll give you a reminder like, hey, remember to post something.
That people, you know what? Part of my job is holding people accountable. Like that could work, but what I tell my clients is if you need to use a scheduling tool. So one of my clients is using Buffer right now. She's scheduled 3 weeks out, so she doesn't have to worry about it. All she has to do is engage. There's that. Or the other thing that I don't think people realize, and I only say this to people who are building their own brands or smaller companies that don't have time to do this, is that consistency doesn't mean you have to post 5 times a day.
What would be a good, like a healthy medium for people, I guess, or more like a more actionable steps for someone just starting out?
Do what's feasible for you. I know for me, it takes so much energy and headache to make I post once a month on LinkedIn. People don't realize I post once a month, but I do my darndest to get it right. And I have somehow done it for 1.5 years. And it's worked for me. I've gotten business that way. Would it be better if I had 4 killer posts a month? Probably. Do I have the capacity to do it? No, but I'm consistent and people know that Shaily posts on LinkedIn and people know that I'm good at what I do. So with that, I tell people like, if you can't post more than once a week, like don't post more than once a week. And I had a client, she came to me, she's like, I have 30 Instagram posts ready to go. I'm like, wow, that takes a lot of work. That's what you should do. You get all of the content ready to go and then you release it, because then people are waiting and I'm like, oh, are you going to post? Are you not going to post? Then I'm like eager for it. And I don't get what I want. You don't feed my monster. Somebody's business called Social Snacks. Feed my monster. Feed my social media monster. I want to eat. Give it to me. So what I told her, I was like, you know, as much as you think you're ready to do this over and over again, you could still post like once a week. If you can keep that going for like whatever amount of months, that's going to be a lot stronger than you getting really excited this week and next week, which happens to so many people, and then quitting. And it's happening over and over again to my people. And I'm like, make it a really small goal and be consistent about it. It's a lot stronger, and then make something awesome. Or at least do your best you can, because social media, and I shouldn't even say this out loud, but this is literally why I think my LinkedIn works. I think to myself that I get to literally scream out to my entire network. Like, I'm screaming at you right now. What if I scream, that like to all of you right now. Like I'm taking attention and I need to make the most of it, is that I'm literally talking to people who can open up doors for me. I want to make sure that if they're going to give me that attention, that I'm not wasting their space with something that they don't need. That I'm thinking about them and putting something out there that hopefully is meaningful, that I've thought of, that I'm not just like willy-nilly like, oh, here, I'm promoting this, promoting that. Like I'm thinking about who's on the other side and what they're going to get out of it. But it's also me being crazy and being in this industry for so long that I'm like psycho, because you need to just try stuff. And there's trial and error. There's experiment with it. See if you like to make that kind of content. And if you do, find a way to either prep it in advance or write ideas like, sometimes I write ideas in a folder or something like that, and then hoard it because you might need it later. And I've been doing this for years. I have, you know how many blogs I've never published or like hoarded in my Google Drive right now? Tons. So I can talk about for days, but that also helps. Another way to get content is look at the questions that people are posting in forums. What are they asking about, and what are you answering? I'm in Facebook groups all day long, and I will copy and paste what I wrote to someone else and save it because that might be a post later that I don't have to think about.
That's a good technique. That's great.
Yep. I figured that out years ago, and I've gotten some really nice answers and really nice ideas of what to talk about that I didn't even realize I could talk about.
Yeah, and I heard, that somebody was talking about, if you're a member of, a bunch of different forums and whatnot, and like, granted, like, don't steal anything, but if you take something from one like forum and post it in another forum,
yes,
people think you're a genius.
Yes,
like, I
can show you slides of me doing that. It's huge.
Yeah.
Tell me more. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
Because that's the thing, is like, you are connected to, like, you have this network, and you never know what like the people in one place will know about the other one. So if you see something, you post it in this other place that you haven't seen it before, and then you get the like correctly have correct attribution, so you're not stealing it, but at the same time, like, you're showing people and you're providing value and you're like giving them content. So
that is actually a great way to showcase yourself as someone interesting. I have done this. I actually put this in my portfolio. This is a lot of old stuff. Here's 3 of these that I did, and it was stupid, the results that I got. Let's see. Can I show this?
I saw the client expectation, client budget. I love that.
Well, one of the Facebook groups I was in did not see that post, and I shared it. And I think it got more than this. 400 people, almost 400 people saw this post. Yeah. I put it into like a freelancer forum. This mayonnaise ketchup thing was posted in another chat room. Mm-hmm. Mayonnaise and ketchup is like a very standard item in the Middle East, but like it's normal, but like they were never posting in the Middle Eastern chat rooms. And I was like, I shared it in there, and they're like, oh, this is real. Yeah. And then somebody showed me this bar mitzvah dog thing, and I'm a part of this, like,
I think that's called a bark mitzvah.
A bark mitzvah, right? So there's literally a Facebook group called like Jewish animals being cute or something like that. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna share it in there. And then it got 59 hits. It was so dumb. I was like, great, because now it's a chance for people to see my name, and if they look at my profile, they potentially could see my business. Now, is this gonna bring me a lot of money? No, but it's telling Facebook algorithm that I'm good at posting content. So now anytime I post something on Facebook, Facebook's like, oh, her shit's good. Like, I posted about my dad's birthday. I don't post anything. And like, they were like, 90 people already saw it. I was like, great. If I post something really meaningful on there, Facebook trusts me. So I think those are all of them. But these are all things from my past. Crazy stuff. I don't know.
It's really weird, though, because it's like whatever platform you're using, like, there's part of your job that is seducing the algorithm. And then there's another part of the job that's like actually connecting with people, and like
huge.
Sometimes they overlap and sometimes they don't.
What's your thoughts on that?
So some of the stuff I do on LinkedIn, there's definitely some algorithm hacking a little bit, but it's also like the reason it works too is that when I look at who likes and comments on my stuff, they're all people that I've built a relationship with, that I'm pretty close enough with, that if I really needed a favor, I could probably be like, hey, like, can you help me out? They're all people that I've put time and energy to offline to care. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people don't do that or don't have that. And that's, I think, what's opened doors for me. Yeah. So I think that's part of it. Second thing is that I tell people, like, there's 2 choices really with social media managers. You can have somebody that knows how to do social media really, really well, that will learn whatever it is that you're selling. And there's someone who's super passionate about whatever it is that you're selling, but doesn't know social media. I started in that bucket, is that I was doing something for a nonprofit. It was a Jewish organization in Chicago that was trying to make events for LGBT Jews. And I was like very excited, and I was like, I want to help. And I volunteered, and I did not get paid. It was a little dicey, but whatever. I learned a lot of stuff there, but because I was passionate about the cause, And eventually I learned the social media skills. So that's huge. But there's also people that know how to do Facebook ads and know how to do the algorithms and know how to structure a post. And that's also important. But if your stuff is boring or not interesting, it might be a little trickier. But I also realized that I could learn causes, and I started a nonprofit that I didn't know, and use my skills that I knew from marketing to help them out. But, there's a chance to be ignorant. There's a chance to not understand the cause or whatever. But those are the two areas. And it helps if you've got somebody who does both, like, miracle. I don't know if I answered the question. I was on a little tangent there, but it was fun. It's a good question. But it helps to know the algorithms. But good stuff is good stuff, and being well connected is being well connected. And that's put all those together, you have a huge opportunity.
Yeah. Well, that's that would be another question that I have is like, when you're going out there and you're engaging, like, I feel like there's a level where you're engaging with the people who are engaging with you, but like, is there a decision-making process in like who to cultivate relationships with, or?
Totally.
Oh, that's a good question. Like picking who, like I guess it's just a matter of targeting in a way. Yeah.
I've gotten better year after year because I was wasting my time at terrible networking events that were not in front of my target audience. Now I don't take meetings with people who I don't think could open a door for me. I just like, I can't do it. Like I want to make friends, but like, this is not what my business is for. Like I'm looking to meet certain people that can do stuff for me. And Shaily from 3 years ago would be like, what? Like she would not believe this, but that's what it is. I have to prioritize my time. So I know that there's certain kinds of networking events that have the kind of people that buy what I sell. So I go to those. And if I try a new one, and if that's not good, I don't go back. The other thing I do, which is really the dumbest thing that people don't take advantage of, is whenever I post something on social media, and this is partially where I get leads too, is I look at who likes and who comments. And I see, like, who do I need to stay in touch with that I haven't talked to in a few months? So I see Joe Schmo is on there, like this one lady, Jessica. I love Jessica. She just texted me today, so I'm thinking about her, right? And she checks in with me every few months, too. Is that I see that she likes it. I message her. I'm like, oh, hey, Jessica, thanks so much for liking my post. I haven't talked to you in a while. How are you? She's like, oh, my gosh, you have to join this online community. That literally within 2 days, there was a duo on there that hired me to teach them social media. And I was like, great. Thank you, Jessica, for opening that door up for me. I was in theory, I was doing her a favor, but really she did me a favor in the end. So, but it's like conversations like that give people a chance to ask you questions, to figure out where you are, to ask how you're doing. That stuff is great. And then then the teacher in me knows that if you tell somebody they're doing something that you like, they want to do it more. So if you give them positive reinforcement, thanks for liking my post, they do it again. And that's how I built up my first ever social media account, is literally talking to people, and then they knew, oh, there's this nice girl behind the account, or like, oh, she's sweet. So I always look, and it's usually, I don't do everybody, but whoever I already know that I know matters, I do that. The other tip I got from a business consultant that is also now a client, but she said, maybe make a list of 25 people that you think could open doors for you, and make sure that you engage with them like every few weeks, at least like 5 times over the course of like 3 months. And maybe one time you send them an article that they like, or maybe one time you comment on their post, because if they don't have you in their mind, they can't send you somewhere. And that's literally like, in my mind at any given time, there's probably like 10 people that I know what they're looking for. And if I hear something that is related to whatever they want, I'll be like, oh my gosh. And you two will probably be in my head for the next 2 days, right? If I hear something good for y'all, I'll be like, oh, send. So if you stay at the top of my mind, there's an opportunity there. So like, I'm a connector. So those are all kind of ways that you can keep people thinking about you without trying to sell anything. Just saying hi, or just saying thank you, or how are you doing? Are you surviving Corona? Like, you're not selling anything. And I did that with all my clients like last week, and I got so many great conversations. I found out one of my students from tutoring got grounded because she did something she wasn't supposed to. And I was like, oh no. And he needed to just rant. The dad needed to just rant to me. And I was like, please do. Yeah. So like, you never know. Being helpful like that, that's how you build a relationship.
Yeah.
Online.
I think that's a challenge that a lot of people have too, is the authenticity of like developing these relationships, because like networking in a lot of ways is just like, it's this artificial front, because it's like in a lot of ways, like, as a job seeker, I am going out and like, obviously I'm looking for somebody to hire me.
Sure.
I don't want to, I don't want to hide that, but I also don't want that to be the basis of my relationship with people. I want to develop relationships with people and like provide value for them. And if they can help me, that's great. But I don't want to be the person that's constantly sniffing around looking for a job.
Sure.
person that happens to be there when the job, opens up or
So
whatever.
I'm at a networking event. You just met me, right? What are you starting with? Hi, I'm Shaily. I do this. What's your story? What do you say? I'm going to see what you say. Do you say that I'm a job seeker, or do you give me some sort of different spiel?
No,
Start with that?
I usually start out with the fact that I just graduated a boot camp in UX design a little bit ago. I've been going to a bunch of networking events. I try to work in the calendar.
Generic. Stop that. Stop that. That's generic and boring. Because when I hear boot camp, I'm like, because I know boot camps, the first thing I think of is like, oh, they're job seekers. Like, I probably sometimes I meet more than one. Like I have my UX 4 that did my website. They're my like top 4 right there with UX. I'm like, oh, here's another UX person. I know you're in the hunt and it's hard. And I also know that UX boot camps, they like promise a lot and it's hard. So in my mind, I'm like, oh golly, I'm like, what are you gonna do? And now I'm worried for you as a human. But what you can tell me is like describe something that you solve, or like, hi, I turn boring websites that make you fall asleep into like marvelous works of art. And I want to contribute that skill to a company that is of X caliber, or that is like similar to X. I mean, this is very cheesy. Like you can make this your own, but tell me why you're valuable. Because if you're just another UX person that's like, it's like your LinkedIn profile. Like you get one shot to pique my curiosity. Like, I don't care. You graduated UX boot camp. That makes me feel bad. I'm like, you just graduated boot camp. It's hard. Like life sucks. Like I believe it. I don't know if that's too harsh, but like, give me something to indulge over.
Yeah.
Give me something specific. Like describe what you do without saying UX, because some people don't even know they need UX. They need someone to fix some problem, and it's like, oh yeah, that's UX. Maybe it is UX. I don't know, but tell me that. Can you tell me now, like, what's something that you saw? Like, describe yourself without saying I graduated and I'm looking for a job. Like, describe it and say that in a way that makes you sound glamorous and interesting. Pique my curiosity.
Yeah, I mean, like I like to see problems and fix them, and that's why that's why I did the calendar. That's why I'm doing the Twitter list.
I'm trying to think now for myself.
Okay, tech resource. Give me a tech resource. I'm a resource. I use my tools, my UX tools, to be a resource online. I create this, and I want to help companies like this fix blah, 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 be a resource in their industry or whatever.
And I save other people time and energy by making it in such a way that it's reproducible and it's scalable, and it can be like this value can be handed out to other people, where it's like, and that's
there's a lot of buzzwords, but like, give me more you. I mean, the buzzwords are better, but you don't need to give a buzzword. Buzzwords can also be generic. Oh yes, I pay attention to detail. That's what I hear. Oh, I pay attention to detail. Like never written that on a resume in my life, because I don't care about detail. I don't lie. But give me something specific.
Yeah.
Like, is there like, what's something do you do a project at your boot camp?
Well, yeah, I mean, we worked on Dabble. That was with an actual client. So that
that's huge. That's like
they're
a real company.
Yeah, that's the way that I can like leverage, like I've got actual experience in this. And, like I was the point person with the stakeholder. So, I was the one that was interacting with. I was also the one that was pushing hard to maintain the scope of the MVP, because like being in school, like it just wanted to expand, out of the box. And so like that was my main job, is just to keep the reins on the MVP and keep it small and agile and elegant. And because we're new designers and we want to like go and play with all the fun stuff, but it's important to like have limits and constraints, and that's where creativity really comes from.
Well, that you telling me that story, by the way, was so much more specific. It's like, hey, like I help people stay focused. Like, as if I'm the person that, like, my website project, I knew I had problems. Did I know where to take myself? No. But y'all UX people are like the doctors to like solving my thing. So like you diagnose something and we stay focused and on track, maybe even on budget with whatever, or like there's something to that that's more specific than I get you value and ROI, and which is good. Like that's like probably the next level, but like, what is something specific there? Like I told my UX lady, she makes experiences. She's learned from offline experience how to make online experiences so that she can impact people with blah, 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 blah. Like there's
and that's my
line
thing
there.
Is like, that's one of the reasons why I call myself an experience designer and not like a user experience or customer experience, because like, for me, it's the same tool set wherever you are. Like if you want to be in a digital device, if you want to be like interacting with a client or service, Like it's the same things, it's the same fundamental tools that you're using to solve those problems, whether it's inside or outside of a device. And so like experience design is experience design, where you practice it. I mean, when I was at the strip club, I was doing experience design in a way. Like it was just a different form of experience design that I was doing. I was fixing issues with like the operations workflow and the databases and all the paperwork that we had to do. I was dealing with employee issues and like how that like, customer flows and all that kind of stuff. I was, crafting, trying to work with ownership on marketing messages. Cause that was the funny thing is, they were deep in Uber, like in the birth of Uber, and they were still using taxi cab mentality for their marketing messaging. They were handing out cab cards, and it's like, nobody takes cabs anymore. Like every single person, there's a cab waiting on the corner of the street and they're calling an Uber, and you're still trying to get people here by cabs. Like, you don't understand that. So yeah.
There's so much there of like, you called out a lot of stuff. I wrote a few words down, and you could add more detail to this, obviously. This is a very broad way, but you just said you solved something else. Like what you told me wasn't, you told me UX, I can't think of all that, but you just said, hey, I worked at this company. We had issues with this and issues with that, and we pull together. I mean, part of what UX is that you're pulling stories, testimonials, pictures. You're pulling a lot of different kinds of content together and making it an experience for like a dabble or whatever it is to help their customers. Like there's a story there, and if you can get that in a line or two, any introduction you make on an online networking call or an offline networking call is going to be so much stronger. Because I say, oh, I do UX. Okay, well, so do 100 other people. What? But you do. Oh, you wrangle different resources within a company to make themselves shine and glow online. Like, I mean, that's probably not the best answer, but there's some version of that that's probably really, really nice and delectable that I want to ask you more questions about.
Yeah.
And then I can say, oh, wow, you must be really good. So now, I can tell you my friend about you.
Yeah.
They don't want a random UX person. They want a special person that's going to be exciting for them. They, when you buy a new toy, it's like a new car, a new house, whatever, new apartment. Like you want something exciting that you're like, oh, I got this goodie. So be that.
Yeah.
So anyway, if I shake it up, I put a few ideas in the chat, but there's got to be a way to make something like this sound glamorous.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I think that's part of it is that there's a certain gravity to buzzwords. Like because they're used so often, like you just fall into the habit of using them. And it's like, a lot of times you end up sounding just like everybody else. And it's, again, like I said, the pretty girl that's forgettable because she's so pretty. It's like you use those same buzzwords that everybody else is using and nobody's hearing you. And I think that's like, that's probably where I definitely need to go into more detail is to put like mystery and like stuff that's relevant to my specific experience. And that's where I'm like, because what I want to say is like, I solve problems. Like I hunt problems like a pig hunts truffles. Like that's what I do. Like,
okay, maybe say that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what I did. Like I go in and wherever.
Maybe that.
Yeah.
What's that story, right? Like I hunt, you say, hey, I am a problem solver or whatever. And I hunt and then give me the problem that companies that are like a problem that somebody would have and say, I help them do this by, crafting their message or crafting whatever. Like you can use that as an icebreaker. That's like significantly more interesting. Like I'm a problem solver, whatever, like creative way you said it, like, and give me some details.
Yeah, because that's the thing is that most of the times people are solving, when they're problem solving, they're solving symptoms. They're not solving the actual underlying problem. And so like, that's what I look for is I look for like, okay, well, we've got all this issue happening here, but like, what is causing this to happen? What is like, what's underneath here that's actually sucking up all those resources and you're not even, noticing it because you've become accustomed to that problem. That's what I like.
Oh, I wrote there's something to that. Like you help, like I help diagnose problems that companies need to solve for their clients with more detail, like with more specifics rather than broad frou-frou language.
Yeah. And I'm definitely going to save these because Zoom chat disappears when you close the room. So I want to make sure that I actually grab this.
Yeah. I'm gonna say this too. Some other things that I want to throw in there are some things that maybe not to do on social media. Look, having a profile is huge, and I think what you said, Alexander, earlier about how you adapt it and how you work on it and you tweak little by little. It's a lot easier to build up a LinkedIn profile little by little than it is to realize you need one, and then you panic and you're like, I have to do it. So I think first off, that's a really great thing, is that you're constantly tweaking. The other things to think about is with all this Corona stuff, like I'd hope people have a pulse on not totally being like, oh, I'm going to take advantage of the situation. So being genuine, authentic, it's buzzwords, right? Being authentic, being personal, sharing stories. Those are all like really good things. I would say, yeah, don't spam people. Don't ask. Offer something if you can. The easiest things you can do to get someone's attention is show gratitude. Is that if someone's impacted you in a great way, tell them thank you. If you saw a great post, tell them thank you, because they might be having a boring day and they didn't realize that you maybe made someone's day. People did that with my post the other day, and I was like, oh, that's so great. And I've done that to other people too. And who knows what will happen, but that's only going to make the relationship stronger over time, to appreciate people. And I've had people tell me, oh my gosh, I had a horrible day, and your kind words like made me feel so much better. Those are some things I think about. It's just be a good person. What you know to do in the real world is so the same as what you do in the internet world. It's not going to magically happen to you. It's dependent on how you treat people and how much you care about what it is you're doing for them.
And gratitude is good just in general too. Like, just from a psychological standpoint, like practicing that gratitude puts you in a much more positive mindset throughout the rest of your day. Even if you're, like having a bad day, if you're going through stuff, like, I've got a lot of people, my friend group, that swear by, the gratitude practice of like finding 3 things that you're grateful for at the end of every day, or at the beginning of every day. And just like, because the more you train your brain to have that mindset, and that's a great way to like not only train your brain, but also like train your social media network.
Yeah, and I will say one of the best things that's been grateful for me, and it's opened up some doors, is that I send 3, I don't really reveal this, I send 3 cards a month to people, like physical cards.
Oh, wow.
And I send them something lovely and personal, and I think that's been a real gift for me. And it's, though I procrastinate every month and somehow send them out one way or another, like it's 36 people that are going to be extremely delighted with me every year. And that adds up. I've been doing this for a couple of years. Like, that's a lot of people that are going to be like, oh, wow, Shaily's super nice. Like,
and these are people who are outside of your client group, or how do you choose?
It's a big mix. So some of them I actually only sent to, I sent to one client this month. It was kind of just, I was like, oh yeah, I should just send one to her because she probably needs it right now. She does a lot of physical like stuff in real life, so I'm sure she's in weird shape right now. So I was like, I should just send her something nice. But yeah, sometimes it's that. Sometimes it's anybody that did me a favor. Like someone let me crash with them for a conference, and I know she's going through hell with this Corona stuff, and she sent me a thank you. I sent it a couple months ago, and she was like, thank you so much for your card. And I know it means something to her. People that have done favors for me or opened doors for me, a handful of people are people that I want them to like eventually hire me, but I don't say that. I'm just like, you know what? Let me just send them all of my favorite things about them, and like, good things happen. And it's a great way to show like, hey, I care. And if I can include a selfie in there, like I will, like, hey, it's like, here's a selfie of us together. Like, anyway, I don't actually tell people the secret. I've been figuring out how to publish this idea, but it's a really great way to like just show people you care. Sometimes I make a list, like I have a note card that I write names on, and eventually like I go through it. I'm like, oh, I should send it to this person this month. One person edited a whole video of me and him together that was great marketing content for me. And I was like, wow, I just sent him a thank you card. Like, thank you. That's like very generous.
Wow,
so I love doing these kind of things. Yeah. So it's an easy way to like be nice to people. It's how you develop a relationship when you're not at networking events.
Yeah, like spreading goodwill, that even though it doesn't have a specific end goal in mind. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know how we're gonna go maybe all night on this. I could talk all day about this stuff, but I do have a closing quote. But I don't know. I know we've been on here for a while, so I'm like, do we need an intro for this whole podcast thing? I have a closing line. Like, because I know we didn't really work out the details, but I think we ended up having a great conversation anyway.
Jump right into it.
Why not? I was like, why does we record this? You're talking. It's interesting. Like, let's go.
Yeah, let's capitalize on the situation for sure.
Like, I'm like, if there's like, they always do that. Like when you're interviewing someone, they videotape, they turn on the camera before you realize it. And they're like, oh, just pretend the camera's not on. And they're like actually recording. And that's where the best content comes out. So they told somebody not to say that on call today because that's like a secret that like Anyway, I revealed a secret here, but
Interesting.
yeah, just you have it rolling. You never know what someone's gonna say that you're gonna want.
Exactly. I mean, well, directors do that in movies too. Like they just keep rolling in between takes just in case they catch something. So like, yeah.
Sure. So yeah.
Yeah.
So thoughts on that? Do you want an intro to this podcast? Do you want a closing? Because I have a closing quote that I always like to end on, but I don't know. Do you want to do an intro? I don't know. We didn't do a formal intro. Is that used like, hey, we're here, we're interviewing Shaily.
Yeah, we're still working on like what the intro is like, looks like or feels like or whatever. And it's, pretty much just like, like, hey.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Thank you for dispensing your important and valuable wisdom, of course.
Yes, and thank you both for giving people a platform to like share stuff on here and to really be a resource to people as they're navigating some really tricky times. I think that's really amazing, and I'm excited to see what you do online.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, and now the outro.
See, this is good. You're going to have this. It's going to help.
Cool.
I just want to say I am so grateful for this chance to talk to you all about some really tough stuff. This is amazing what you're doing here. If I can leave your audience and whoever sees this with the epitome of what social media is, in my opinion, this is a quote that I heard. It's not mine, but sometimes I wish it was, is that social media is about the people, not about your business. Provide for the people and the people will provide for you.
I like that.
I like that as well.
Yes. If you keep that in mind, you'll be in good shape.
Yeah, definitely. So to sum up, be unique, be consistent.
Yeah.
And, just keep at it and eventually it'll bear fruit.
I hope so, but be consistent, but be in front of the right people that you need. And have fun with it. If you like to write articles. If you like to make videos, make videos. Find the content that you like and find what people like about you that you like to make, and you've got something of value to provide folks. And it's okay to experiment and to test, but people are looking for whatever it is that you do, and make it easy for them to discover that about you.
Right, we'll keep that in mind. Those are good guidelines to bring us further into our job search. Yeah.
Love it.
Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Thank
you. Thank you.
Much appreciate it.
See you on the interwebs, everybody.
Bye.
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 And scene? I think that's just keep it on. Just keep it on. Just keep it on.
I'm just gonna keep it on.
You can edit whatever you want.
That's one of the things I'm trying to experiment with is this thing called the content funnel, where you have like the long. Have you heard about this?
Oh, well, I know funnels, like funnels are like a real thing in marketing. Like,
yeah, because
it basically guide somebody from this to this to this to this.
Yeah, well, I think they call it vortex, a content vortex. Because what it is you start out
more radical, man.
Yeah, totally. No, it's a real thing.
Yeah, you make a long form YouTube video or something like that, and then that's one thing that you make, and then you take the audio from that, strip it out, and now it's a long form podcast.
100%.
And cut it up and have like short form videos, and then same thing with the podcast where you can have like little short mini segments and podcasts, and then you take the things that you talked about in the video and you make blog posts about it.
100%.
And it's like, within you make one video, and with very little effort you can make like 12,000 things, and that's something that like we're trying to get into and trying to be better at, just to like
it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. Yeah,
people don't do it because they're not excited about it. If you don't feel like the results are happening and you don't feel like you're gonna know where you're going or that you like it, it's gonna be impossible to maintain unless you pay someone to do it.
Yeah.
If you want a good resource for editing, well, I don't know about editing podcasts, but if you want to make clips out of your podcast, if you're going to share this on LinkedIn, I would put it as a short video clip with like a very juicy segment, and then say, hey, you want to listen to the whole thing, subscribe. Because people don't know how good it is unless you can make it easier for them to discover that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, so I put Headliner on there as a good tool for that. I just discovered something called Descript, which might actually make it really easy for you to edit the podcast.
Headliner.
One of my colleagues, Descript, that's also really cool. I literally uploaded a video of a testimonial, and I manually transcribe it with like good quotes. I was able to transcribe the whole thing for free, up to like 3 hours, which was awesome. And like usually you have to pay for that, and like actually see the video side by side with the text. And I was able to pull out some really good quotes from a client of mine. And now I have this paragraph that's like, oh, it's so good.
Yeah, nice. Okay. There's another thing called Otter AI that Yeah, that's what we use for transcripting software.
Mhm.
And you know, we usually, if we want that, like I'll just run the video with the otter like next to it, and that'll do it.
Really? That's
Yeah.
good.
Because I
That's
think
super useful. I love it.
we started wanting to do it on the second episode, and then I think by the third episode we kind of like fell off on doing that. But
Oh, I still have it. I have it for everyone so far.
oh, you have the third one too?
Yeah, I had it for Anthony's.
Oh, nice, cool. Okay, so
Descript, yeah. If you upload this video to Descript, it's like an hour long. It's like free. You get 3 hours free. Like you can totally get all the text if you want from this.
Oh,
So
great.
nice.
yeah, it's stupid.
Yeah,
I usually
I was
pay
taking
for it.
notes
So
this whole time, and I wrote that down.
you wrote the segments and like what we talk about in different segments, because that's not a bad thing.
Oh, I just meant like notes, just like little things we brought up, like in terms of
good.
like, looking for forums for content inspiration.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Yeah,
Especially, I
that's
made some notes on like when you were grilling Alex about his once the thing you said when you shake hands with like someone at a career fair, like what do you offer right off the bat to these people?
Oh,
Yeah.
you interview them. You should interview them because they're going to be freaked out and they're going to think you're really smart. That's what I did when I was like sort of going to job fairs, but like none of the companies had what I wanted because I didn't want to work for a company. It like had to be like a really freaking perfect company for me not to run a business. And I wasn't making any money either, but I wasn't making a lot. But like I have jobs, career fair tips. Oh my gosh. Because everyone goes in there like freaking cattle. They've got their leather like booklet or whatever. And they're waiting in line like, I don't know what to do. And then they go up to the person and they're like, okay, ask me a question. The person has literally interviewed 100 people before them asking the same question and is sitting there and probably hates their job, right?
Yeah.
I go in there and be like, hey, what does your company do about diversity and inclusion? Hey, does your company have flexible, like, does the company offer remote work? Does your company treat you well or whatever? Like, how does your company treat mothers? Like, I'll ask them like things that I care about because it's like, hey, like if I'm going to even consider you, like I'm valuable. Like, maybe I come off with a little ego, but it changes the dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good. That's definitely good. And that was kind of I used to go to the built-in Chicago events, like the Who's Hiring and everything.
Oh, that was fun. And then my friend left and she was running them. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I've been to like 5 of them, and I've never really like I've dropped off my resume. I've talked to people, I've connected with people, and I've never really gotten anything. But like the last time I went, because I had never really made any like positive business connections, I just decided to like have fun with it. So like I would wait in line, and then by the time I got to the front, I'm just like talking to the person, just joking around them, like, you want to take a second? You want some water? I'll hold the people.
Yes, that's what I tell them all the time. Like, give them sympathy because nobody else has. It's everything I'm saying is like, be the one person that gives a damn, and it's like huge. It's huge.
Be the one person who gives a damn. I love that.
Yeah, like think about how they've been on their feet all day.
Good job,
yeah. And it was like, and I was joking around with them, just like, I'll hold them off, and just like, yeah, and then there was laughing, and and hopefully that's one of the things that's going to make them remember me, because it's, that's what it is. It's peacocking.
That's and another
goodwill,
it's totally goodwill. The other hack that I tell people all the time is waiting in lines is a great way to network because you already have something in common with people. Oh, are you waiting in line? Oh, like, did you try the chicken? Oh, yeah, I'm trying the chicken. Oh, how do you know this event or why are you here?
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's what I teach people about the QR code on LinkedIn. Every single time I'm networking with the people in line, I'm teaching them about the QR code on LinkedIn, and that's where I'm providing value. And that's where, honestly, that's where I get the majority of my value from those things is networking with the people in line.
Yeah.
They can let me know about other jobs and other.
Who else should I meet?
Yeah.
Who do you know here? Who should I connect with? Talk to the host before the event starts. The host already knows everybody. They'll point you to where you need to go. Anyway, I got to hop off, but like, bless you both. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I can't wait to see what you do.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay.
Good. I'll see you all soon. Bye.
Nice talking, of course.